excited to have him speak to you guys. So, round of applause.
Appreciate it. So first and foremost, my name is Ryan Horton, the Director of Strength and Conditioning here. So first off, just a really big thank you to Coach Limbo for giving me the opportunity to speak. I've been in a lot of different programs, and I don't know if I've ever seen a strength coach given the opportunity to speak at a football coach's clinic. So it's a really cool opportunity for me, and just appreciate you guys taking time out of your day on a Friday afternoon, all right, to come listen to me speak. And I know no one probably came to listen to me speak, but listen to the other guys that are going to speak later today after me. So when I got asked to do it, I thought a lot about, what did I want to talk about? Like how could I bring you guys the most amount of value? And kind of what I landed at was just taking you through my system, okay, and how I put together volume intensity. So reps, sets, percentages. All right, I'm going to literally show you step by step how I go about putting that all together. Because when I talk to a lot of high school coaches, when I talk to even a lot of young strength coaches, that is often the point where it gets very overwhelming. When you're starting to put a program together and you're staring at a blank computer screen or a blank piece of paper, and you're like, where do I start? Like, I know some exercises that I want to do, but how many reps should I do, and what should the percentage be, and how many sets, and what should go on what day? So that's kind of what we're going to go through here today. All right. So the system is it's a method for determining sets and reps and intensity throughout a 4-week cycle. Right, and it gives you checks and balances in a way that that you can put it together step by step, and once you get done with it, a way where you can check your work to see if what you put together is kind of what you wanted. All right, and this is based off Soviet training methods developed by Al Miller, Parker and Rob Paraniello. So I know those names probably don't mean much to the guys in this room, but if it was a room full of strength coaches, it probably would. So Al Miller was the head strength coach for the Denver Broncos back when they were winning Super Bowls. Parker was the head strength coach for the New York Giants back when they were winning Super Bowls. All right, and Rob Paraniello is one of the smartest human beings within the strength and also physical therapy and also athletic training space. All right. So basically, like I said, it allows the coach to systematically maximize your training, right, without overtraining. Okay, and we'll get into the ways that we do all that. All right. So just want to start with a couple basics first. Okay. Within your program, all right, we're all wanting to build these three things. All right, we're all wanting to build speed. Okay. And when I say speed, I don't mean like your 40 time. I mean like speed of muscle contraction. Right. So think of it as power. We're trying to build power. We're trying to build explosiveness. All right. We're trying to build strength. All right, we're trying to build size. We're trying to build hypertrophy, okay? So if you break down by rep ranges, 1 to 3 reps, 4 to 6 reps, 7 to 10 reps, right? This basically just shows you what is best for what, all right? So if I'm wanting to build speed, if I'm wanting to build power, all right, the best that I can do is work in the 1 to 3 rep range, all right? The second best that I can do that's going to build speed and power, not quite as well as 1 to 3, all right, is in that 4 to 6 range, all right? And if you're working in 7 to 10s, if you're working in high reps, that's actually going to be at a detriment to building power and to building explosiveness, okay? Strength, all right, 1 to 3 is going to point the arrow straight up, okay? So now, this is one of the big misconceptions, all right, is I was even taught in school, all right, 4 to 6 is the ideal rep range for strength, right? It actually is not. 1 to 3 is still better than that, right? The reason why 4 to 6, all right, a lot of times comes up for strength, all right, is because if I'm doing 6 sets of 3 reps, I can build more strength than 3 sets of 6 reps. And the reason being is because I'm doing the same amount of reps, I'm doing the same amount of volume, it's 18 reps a piece, but those 6 sets of 3 reps, I can move more weight, right? So I can work 75, 80, 82%, whereas in a 3 sets of 6, I'm going to be more down in 70, 75%. Now, if we're doing pros and cons, right? The con against that, right, is that takes more time. Okay, that takes more time. It takes more time to do 6 sets than it does 3 sets. So it's all about where your priorities are and where you're placing your priorities with the time that you have in the room. All right, and we'll talk about here in a second of how we split our reps up into different buckets so we can prioritize what we're actually wanting to prioritize. All right, and then the last one over here is size. If I'm working 1 to 3. All right, that's going to really have no effect on size. I'm not going to lose size. I'm not going to gain size. All right, 4 to 6. All right, it's going to have a positive effect. And then 7 to 10 reps, if I'm just trying to build hypertrophy and size, that's the best that you can do. Okay. So if I'm wanting to build a football player, if I'm wanting to build a strong, explosive, powerful football player, I should be living most of my time, right, in 1 to 6, okay? So now, the effect of bar speed on strength development, okay? So there was a study that was done by the Soviets back when the Soviet Union was turning out Olympic champions, also doing a lot of drugs while they were doing that, but they were turning out Olympic champions. What they looked at was the effect of bar speed, all right? So if I do a squat, if I do a slow rep, all right, versus a really fast rep, what is the best method for building as much strength as possible? So they put guys into 6 different categories. Very slow reps, medium, fast, very fast, and mixed, okay? Anybody want to take a guess onto which produce the best strength gains? Mixed speeds, okay? 22% versus 10%, which was the next best, all right? And overall strength gains, all right? Mixed speed, so working, all right, through all of that entire spectrum, okay? And the easiest way to do that, to work in that spectrum, right, is to control the percentages that you're having your athletes do, and then instilling in them, okay, intent, okay? Intent is one of the buzzwords, one of the key words that I use as much as any other in our weight room. Everything that we do and everything that we move, especially on our compound lifts, on our squats, on our pulls from the floor, on our bench press, everything is done with intent. All right, we're trying to rattle plates and we're trying to shake the bar every single time we move something. Okay? Now, if I control the percentages, right? If I'm going 70%, that bar is going to work really, really fast. Right? If we're up into 85%, even 90%, right? Now the bar is going to slow down a little bit. Okay? But I can control that. But for them, for the athlete, right? No matter what they're moving, they're trying to move it as fast as possible. And I think the mistake that oftentimes we make in the weight room is we think if we're going to get guys strong, all right, we got to be up here very slow. We got to grind out reps. We got to put weight on the bar. It's got to be a grind. It's got to be a struggle. They might need a spot. Okay, it's not how we do things. Okay, so I'm gonna show you a couple clips. So the first one is Dom Polisi on the left-hand side. So he's got 405 on the bar. If you add it, it's 90 pounds of chain. So he's working with about 500 pounds on the top. Okay, so that's Dom for a double. Okay, see how the plates are shaking at the top. Okay, that's how we're moving the weight, moving it with intent. Okay, the next one is Charles Goodell. He's a defensive line for us. He's got 5 1/4 on the bar. Okay, he's going to hit that for a single. This was right before we went into spring break. Moving the bar with speed, moving the bar with intent, rattling the plates. Okay, so now that's 5 1/4. Right. First off, Coach Riley, you think Coach Riley's fired up? You think he's excited? Right about that squat right there. Okay. So that's 5 1/4. So Charles is about 260 pounds. So that is a double body weight squat for him. Now, could he squat 550? Not a doubt in my mind. Could he squat 6? I'm going to say there's a 90% chance that he can. Okay? I cut him off right there. Okay? Does anybody in this room think that Charles Goodell, any issue, any lack of success that he has on a football field is going to come from a lack of strength? Right? No, absolutely not. That guy is strong enough to play college football. He's strong enough to be in the in and out. He's strong enough, right? If I'm going to take him up more in weight, right, that's really just an ego thing, right? So I can say like, hey, so-and-so squats 600 pounds. Look how good I am at my job, okay? Our job as a strength coach in the weight room is to get these guys strong enough, right, and explosive enough so they can go be successful on the football field. One, they can be healthy, and two, that they can increase their performance on the football field, okay? And the last one is this. We don't do deadlifts just because it's a slow, more of a slow, grindy exercise, right? And if you're going to do deadlifts and you're going to put that kind of if you're going to put that on the body, right, for the posterior chain, then it's going to have to come at a cost to something else, right? Because if you're going to back squat super heavy, and I'm going to deadlift super heavy, and I'm going to do heavy RDL, at some point that posterior chain is going to say, hey, we're done. We're done. And you're going to have guys locked up, or you're going to have disc issues, or whatever the case may be. But we do a lot of clean pulls. All right, this is just to show you kind of speed of movement. So that's Jaden Oliver. He's one of our corners here. All right, he's got 225 pounds. That's about 70% right there for a trap bar pull for him. All right, and we're moving it fast, and we're moving it explosively. Okay. So now, let's talk about how we design the program. All right, starting from scratch, starting from a blank piece of paper. All right, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to distribute our reps, okay, into 7 different buckets. Okay, so the buckets are clean. All right, so that can be power clean, it can be hang clean, it can be any clean variation. All right, squat, which is going to be back squat, front squat, could be overhead squat. If it's heavy, could even be a split squat. All right, press, all right, that's everybody's favorite. All right, that's our bench press, incline bench press. It can be dumbbells as well. Posterior chain, which includes RDLs, it includes hypers, Nordics. If you were to do deadlifts, that would fall into that bucket as well. Pulls, that doesn't mean upper body pulls, right? That is like you just saw Jaden doing. That's a trap bar pull. So basically it's a clean without catching, right? I'm just pulling from the ground, fast and explosive. Could be a clean pull, could be a snatch pull, any of those kind of pulls. Snatches, right? We only do power snatches. Okay, so I start from a hang position, I'm coming up overhead, and I'm catching overhead. We're not doing the full Olympic drop down underneath into an overhead squat position. In my opinion, that starts to get a little bit too technical, right? And just as an aside, okay, I talk to a lot of coaches that they do cleans, all right, and then I ask them if they do snatches, and they're like, coach, that's too complex, that's too complicated, right? If you're doing cleans, right, and your kids know how to brace their core, and they know how to hinge, and they know how to triple extend, you can do snatches, okay? Because a snatch is easier than a clean, right? I'm just holding the bar here, I get in a hinge position, I'm braced, throw the bar over your head, okay? Keep the bar close to your body, throw it over your head, okay? And then the last one is jerks, which could be power jerks, push presses, split jerks, okay? So now, we're going to distribute our reps based on what we think is important, okay? And there's no right or wrong answer here, right? What I think is important may be a little bit different than what you think is important, okay? And then, let's say, don't want to do jerks, not comfortable teaching jerks, okay? Not comfortable teaching it, don't want to have the kids do it because I'm worried they're going to do it incorrectly. That's okay. Just put that number at 0. All right, put your jerks at 0% and then distribute your reps somewhere else, okay? And what this will help, what this will help you avoid, all right? Is I talk to some coaches, all right? I look at their programs, and I'm like, okay, coach, what's important? What are the things that you're going to have your guys do in the weight room that's going to help contribute to them being successful in the field, all right? Cleans and squats. Cleans and squats. That's what's going to help carry over. I'm like, coach, I'm with you. Cleans and squats. Clean, squat, and sprint, by the way. That's my 3. Clean, squat, and sprint, and you go play football, okay? But then we look at the program, all right? And one day a week, they're doing cleans. They're doing 4 sets of 2. And twice a week, they're doing curls, 4 sets of 10. Okay, so they're doing 8 reps a week, cleans, and they're doing 80 reps a week, curls. Okay, so what you say is important, what you're actually spending your time doing, right, doesn't line up. Right? This helps you avoid this. You can sit down, figure out what's important, what you want to emphasize in your program. Okay, and you set it up just like that. Okay, so now you're going to need to decide your total volume. Okay, your total volume. So out of these 7 exercises, okay, what is my total volume for the 4-week cycle going to be? Okay? At the high school level, I would recommend somewhere between 600 and 750 reps. All right? At the collegiate level, all right, we get a little bit of a more mature athlete, okay, that probably has maybe a little bit more training experience, right? And for the collegiate level, 700 to 1,000. Although 1,000 is really pushing, really pushing. All right? I typically stay with our guys more in about the 900 range. Okay? Now, what your total reps are going to be is going to be dependent upon a few different things. One, what is their training experience? All right? Are these freshmen, all right, that are brand new to your program, all right, or are these 4-year seniors? Okay? Is this cycle 1 or is it cycle 2? In other words, right? Is this cycle 1? Have they been gone for Christmas break for 4 weeks, 5 weeks, right? Where you know some of them have been doing some stuff, but you also know some of them ain't been doing anything, right? Except for playing PlayStation, okay? So if they're coming off that big break, you're going to want to aim more towards that low end. Now, if your second cycle in, you've already been training for 4 weeks, okay? You can probably be more towards that upper end, all right? And then also time of year, all right? Right now we're in spring ball, so in the winter we went off of 900 reps, all right? Now that we moved into spring ball, we went off of 650 reps, all right? And we changed from a 3-day cycle to a 4-day cycle, okay? If you're training 4 days a week, You have an extra day, right? It kind of just makes sense that you're going to be able to get more reps in if you're going 4 days versus 3 days, all right? And then the last one, right, and we'll kind of get into this a little bit later, but when do you start counting your reps, right? So what counts as an actual work set for you, all right? For me, it's 55%. All right, once we're doing 55% on the bar, I count those as work reps, okay? So if you don't start counting reps, work reps until 60%, all right, or even higher, you may have less total volume, all right, just because I'm counting reps that maybe you're not. Does that make sense? Okay? So now, all right, how does this look? Let's say we pick 1,000 reps. By the way, I apologize for a Friday afternoon making you guys think about math. I realize that makes me kind of a jerk, okay, so sorry for that. All right, but we'll try to keep it simple. So let's say you're doing 1,000 reps. All right, if I'm going to do 20% of my reps on cleans, that means I'm going to do 200 reps. All right, 20% on squats is 200 reps. Right? If it's 6 or 650 or whatever, you're going to have to maybe break the calculator out a little bit. But I wanted to try, for example purposes, just try to keep it really simple. Okay. So now, what does this look like in real life? Okay. So this is our rep distribution for the winter. Okay. So at cycle 1, we worked off of 900 reps. Cycle 2, we worked off of 975 reps, okay? So this is how I broke down my percentages. That's how I broke down what I put in what bucket. Squat was 20, press was 21, clean 16, pulls 13, posterior chain was 15%, snatch 7, jerk was 8, okay? So now I've got an Excel template, right? And if anybody would like it, all right, I'll give you my email at the end of this, and I'll give you a template that basically is this piece of paper, is this Excel spreadsheet where you can put in your numbers. All right, and it will populate all of this other stuff for you. So if anybody wants this, get my email address at the end, and I will shoot it right to you, okay? So now, what the Excel spreadsheet's doing is it's taking 900 reps, it's multiplying it by 20%, so now I'm going to have 180 reps of squat for that cycle. All right, does that make sense? It's kind of how that looks, okay? So now we'll come back to that in just a second. But now let's talk about weekly volume, okay? Weekly volume. So in our 4-week cycle, how are we going to break up those 1,000 reps or 600 reps or however many reps you're doing? How are we going to break that up from week to week? Okay? Week 1 is going to be what I refer to as an attack week, right? Because I didn't have a better name for it, and it was the first week, and it sounded kind of cool, so I call it the attack week. Okay? Week 2, all right, is 32%. That is our volume week. That is when we will hit the most reps in the entire cycle. Okay? So when we come percentage-wise, it'll stay relatively equal here from this week to this week, right? We're just adding more reps. Adding more reps, we're adding more volume, okay? Week 3, right, which we refer to as intensity week, 22%, right? So now we're cutting a third of the volume out from week 2 to week 3, right? So we're taking volume off of our kids' bodies, all right? And we're going to crank the intensity up just a little bit, okay? So we're going to go a little more intensity, right? More weight, higher percentages. And we're going to pull the volume down, okay? If you continue, right, however you're putting your programming together, right, if your volume continues to go up and your intensity and percentages continue to go up, right, that is at a certain point, right, you're going to lead yourself into overtraining. At some point, something's got to give if you're just going to try to crank everything up and to the right, right? So we're going to wave it. We're going to wave it up and then wave it back down, right? So we're controlling how many reps our kids are doing and at how heavy of a weight. All right, and then week 4 is speed week. All right, that is our deload week. We don't call it a deload week because I don't want the guys to have the mentality of, hey, I'm deloading and then I get to take it nice and easy this week. All right, we just refer to it as speed week. Okay, intensity comes down, reps come down, volume comes down. All right, and that is essentially your active recovery week. All right, this week allows all these other weeks to happen. Okay, by pulling it back, right? Because the number one way, other than just really poor technique and putting way too much weight on a kid, all right, your biggest enemy in the weight room from an injury standpoint is cumulative fatigue. Okay, it's not the first week in the weight room, it's not the second week in the weight room, it's week 5, it's week 6, it's week 7, when you've been grinding, and now, hey coach, my knee's really sore, my ankle's really sore, hey, my shoulder is, right, all that tendonitis, all right, all of that from that cumulative fatigue, right, is what's going to bite you, right, if you don't, right, at some point pull back so you can keep going up. All right, does that make sense? All right. So this is how it would look from that 1,000 reps that we were just talking about. Week 1, obviously 270, 320, just based off the percentages, right? So now we're going to take that weekly volume and we're going to come back. Good, okay. So now we're going to take that weekly volume. All right, so we talked about week 1. All right, it was 27%. That's 270 reps for all of week 1. Okay. We talked about squat is going to be 20% of our reps for the whole 4-week cycle. Okay. So week 1, we're doing 270 total reps. Okay. Squat, or our squats are going to be 200 reps. So now from a week by week standpoint, okay, I take my total reps, all right, 270 for the week. I multiply it. How many of those reps are going to be squat reps? And I get the 54 reps of squat. All right, so now I know exactly how many reps of squat I'm going to do week 1. All right, and then I just rinse and repeat for week 2, week 3, week 4. Multiply it by 0.2, multiply it by 0.2, or whatever your percentage is. And that's going to tell you exactly how many reps you're going to be doing that week. Okay? And you do the same thing with cleans. You do the same thing with your posterior chain movements. You do the same thing with your presses. All right? Now, from this point, okay, we're going to break those squat reps, okay, up into 2 different days. Okay? If you have a strength movement, all right, if you have a strength movement, all right, I'm talking about squats, I'm talking about presses, you should have no more than 36 reps in a given day. All right, if you try to do more than 36 reps of squats in the same day, you are asking for trouble. That is too much volume. Right? If it is an Olympic movement, if it is a pull from the ground, if it is a clean, right, 24 reps should be right around your top end. You start to get into more than that, you can run yourself into issues. Okay, so we're going to take these 54 reps, right, and we're going to break them up into 2 days. We're lifting 4 days a week. All right, one day may be a back squat day, one day may be a front squat day. All right, back squat may be my intensity day. Front squats may be my volume day. Bench press one day, incline bench press one day. Right? However you want to break that up. It can be back squat both days. Right? You can do that as well. Okay? And I'm going to take those 54 reps, and I'm going to put 40% of those reps on my intensity day. Okay? So it's going to be less reps, but I'm going to do higher percentages. We're going to move more weight that day. All right? And I'm going to have a volume day. So I'm going to take those 54 reps, I'm going to multiply by 60%. And that's going to give you how many, it's going to give me how many reps it's going to be on my volume day. Okay? So what does that look like in real life? All right, so this is the box I just showed you a second ago. That's our reps for the cycle. All right, cycle 1, cycle 2. All right, and this is our first 8 weeks. Okay, so that's week 1, that's 27%. Okay, 49, 51. All right, that's where this number, all right, pops in. 32% based upon the total number of cycle reps. Okay. Down here is breaking these up. That's breaking my squat day. That's my intensity day. That's my volume day. All right, week 1, day 1. Week 1, day 2. Okay. Week 2, that's my intensity day for squats, 23 reps. All right, this is volume week, so everything's going up. Okay, so my intensity day is still more volume than it was week 1. All right, I go to week 3. All right, that's my intensity day down to 16 reps. And my volume day is down to 24 reps. Right, and then we'll crank up the percentages from there. Okay? Anybody have any questions so far? Okay, so that's how that looks from there. So now, let's talk about intensities. Okay? So on our intensity day, we'll work week 1, somewhere from 70 to 80%. Week 2, 75 to 85%, and then week 3, 80 to 85%. Okay, our volume day, all of that stays a little bit lighter. Okay, week 1, we're only going to go up to 75. Week 2, same. Week 3, we may work up to 80. All right, and then week 4, we don't do anything over 70%. All right, everything should be fast. Everything should be light that day. Everything should be fast that day. Okay, so now, I told you at the beginning that we move everything with intent. We move everything with speed. Okay? 90%, my opinion, 90% of your work reps should be in this range right here. Right? The 90% sets, the 95% sets, the 100% sets, that should be absolutely few and far between. Okay? Our entire cycle so far, since I've been here, we've not gone over, at least on paper, we've not gone over 86%. Okay? We've not gone over 86%. All right? We move everything with intent, we move everything with speed. Now, having said that, okay, there are times when I'll let guys hit bonus reps. If that felt really good, hit you a bonus rep. Okay? And that's optional for them, right? And 95% of the guys are like, they're asking for them. You know what I mean? They smoke a rep. Like, Coach, can I get one more? Can I get one more? All right, go ahead and get you one more. All right? So now, do we end up hitting 90% that day, 92% that day? Yeah, we do. But, all right, you get to see it. All right, you get to see it, and you get to make that call before you just hand a kid 3 sets of 3 at 90%, all right, which, by the way, would be an absolutely brutal squat day for an advanced level lifter, okay? But I've seen that, okay? And all of a sudden now you've got kids all over the place because the hardest part, okay, in my opinion, right, at the high school level, if you're in the weight room, is the fact that a lot of times you're 1v80, okay, or you're 1v60. And I don't care how good of a coach you are, right? If you're 1v60, you can only see so much, okay? You're not going to be able to see every kid's, like, we break our guys up into 3 different groups. I mean, we got 3 full-time coaches on staff, okay? So we're 1v8, okay? And we're able to see all the reps, all the sets, okay? I would rather be in this range, okay? And then a kid saying, Coach, watch this rep, you think I can go up? And I can see it, and yep, he smokes it, absolutely. Johnny, get you one more. Put 20 pounds on, get you one more, okay? The other thing that I do too is I allow our guys, so the weights that are on their sheets, okay, they're allowed to go up by up to, but not above, 20 pounds on a set, okay? Over 20, they got to get it okay, all right? But if I've got 230 on my last set of whatever, all right, and I want to hit 240 or 245, go for it. Absolutely, good to go. Go for it. Now, if I want to hit 275, Coach, what do you think? I want to hit this, you know what I mean? And then like with the video of Charles Goodell, the guy in the middle that smoked the 525 on a squat, was really upset with me. When I told him that's a great squat and he was done for the day. Coach, what are you talking about? Like, I can go up, I hit another one? Absolutely you can. How do you feel? Oh, I feel great. Ready to go play spring ball next week? Absolutely. Awesome. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to be healthy and we're going to play spring ball, okay? I would much rather have a kid really upset with me because I didn't allow him to put more weight on the bar and do another rep, right? And then walk out to practice in a week or 2 weeks or whatever the case may be and be super healthy and feel great, right? The ones that will haunt you, all right, is the one more rep and the guy tweaks him, all right? Because we wanted to hit a 600 squat or a 400 squat or whatever the case may be, okay? I'm going to never lose sleep at night, you know, cutting someone off at a 525 squat that looks absolutely amazing, saying, yep, you're good for the day, as opposed to loading you up and trying to get another. Okay? So now, relative intensity. All right, so the great thing about this system, okay, is it also allows you to check your work. Okay, so once you've put your reps in, once you've figured out what reps you want to go in what bucket, I'm going to put 20% of my reps on squats, okay? Now I'm going to work up to 80% on this week. I'm going to work to 85% on this week, and we're going to do 6 sets of 3 at 75 to 80%. I've got all my sets, and I've got them all done. This system allows you to check your work, okay? So relative intensity, all right, is really actually pretty simple, okay? So let's say this is my squat rep for the day. So this is week 1. This is our back squat. It's intensity day. We're going to do 22 reps, okay? So this is what our squat day looks like, okay? We're going 4 reps, 55%. Set of 3, 65%, 3 by 70, 3 by 75, 3 by 75, 3 by 80, 3 by 80. I take my percentage, multiply it by the reps, 4 times 55 equals 220. I do that across the board, and then I divide by the total number of reps. Okay? And that brings me out to 70.68. All right, so once I add up 4 times 55, 3 times 65, 3 times 75, that's what I get. All right, divided by the total reps, 70.68. Your sweet spot should be 68 to 72%. 68 to 72% should be your sweet spot of where you live most of your life. Okay? On our speed weeks, we'll dip below that 68%. All right? And on an intensity week, with some of our exercises, especially if we're into our second cycle, we may be a little bit above that. All right? But we live most of our life right there. Okay? So what does that look like? Okay, so this is our back squat. This is our weekly breakdown. Okay, so this is intensity week, or excuse me, this is our intensity day, and that's our volume day. Okay, sets, reps, and so this Excel spreadsheet, all right, just adds up my goal reps, that it's pulling from the other page where I put in what my goal reps wanted to be. Tells me how many reps I have for the day. All right, and it does the math for me to tell me what my relative intensity is. Okay, so on my intensity day, cycle 1, 68, 69, we work up to almost 72 on that intensity week, week 3. And on speed week, we drop it all the way down to 64. I'm moving everything light, moving everything fast. And then that second cycle, all right, we're going to bump it up a little bit heavier. All right, so we're going to work up into some 83s, work up into some doubles at 85. All right, and we're going to approach that 74%. On the volume day, doing a lot more reps, right? And my intensity is not going to be quite as high. All right, 68, 69, 69, 65. I'm staying towards that lower end of that relative intensity. Okay? So now, you have everything built out. You have the exercises that you pick. You have your you have your intensities. You have your percent. You got everything. Okay. So now, what are we going to put where? What are we going to put where? So this is how we broke it up this winter. So this is a 4-day lift. Okay. I don't do a typical upper body lower body split. I don't do a typical upper body, lower body split because, in my opinion, I'm trying to put a football player, not a bodybuilder. Okay, so 2 days a week are power days for us. Power days, explosive days for us. Power days, explosive days. So we're going to be moving weight really fast. So on Mondays, we're going to go with our hang power snatches. We're going to power clean. We're going to clean pull. All right, and then we'll hit our auxiliary work on the back end. All right. So back to that initial table that I showed at the very beginning. Hypertrophy, 7 to 10 to build size. Where do you want to put that 7 to 10 at? Here. All right, with your auxiliary movements at the end. All right, your pull-ups, your rows. All right, your extra presses, your shoulder presses, your side raise, all that auxiliary work. All right, can be at the back end of that workout, and that's where I'm going to work in that 7 to 10, 7 to 12 range to get my hypertrophy. All right, so we can also build size, all right, especially with those big guys, your offensive, defensive linemen, all right, where you're wanting to build size and put bulk on some of those guys, okay? So Monday is a power day for us, hang power snatch, power clean, clean pull. All right, Thursdays are going to mimic Mondays, all right? So we're going to go jerk, all right, instead of hang power snatch, we're going to go jerks, we're going to go cleans off of blocks, all right, we're going to go trap bar pull. So the cleans off of blocks, I start elevated off the floor a little bit, just takes a little bit of stress off that low back, and the same thing with the trap bar pulls. Trap bar pulls have those elevated handles, right? So I'm not bending down so low to grab the bar. Just takes a little bit of stress off that low back, and especially on a volume day when they're going to be doing a ton of reps, all right, it can go a long way. Especially if you explain to your guys why we're doing block cleans today and why we're doing trap bar pulls today. And then they know, oh, wow, coach is throwing us a bone. Yeah, this is great, right? And that's how you one of the ways you can get the buy-in from your players. So I explain to them why they're doing the things that they're doing on the days that they're doing, okay? And then we'll go back biceps and neck at the end of a Thursday. Tuesdays are what I refer to as a strength day. That is all of our big compound movements. That's when we will squat. That's when we will bench. That's when we'll do our single leg movements, our chest, shoulders, triceps, and our auxiliary stuff, okay? And then the I's and the V's, that's my intensity day and my volume day, all right? You don't have to have all your intensity stuff on the same day. You don't have to have all your volume stuff on the same day, all right? You can mix and match, right? I actually recommend mixing and matching, all right? So we're going to go intensity day on Monday, all right? We're coming off the weekend. In theory, we're fresh, okay? In theory, we're fresh coming off of the weekend, all right? So that's when we're going to hit our intensity days on our cleans and our pulls. Tuesdays, we're going to hit our intensity day on back squat, and then we're going to go volume on bench. All right, so that way I'm not hitting them with a double whammy. All right, we're going to go really heavy on bench, and we're going to go really heavy on squat. So we'll go intensity on squat, and we'll go volume on bench. All right, and then Thursday will be our volume day for our Olympic movements, our power movements. And then on Friday, we'll go volume front squat, all right, and then we'll go intensity day on bench, all right. And for what it's worth, all right, this has nothing to do with science, all right. If you put your really big bench day on Friday, you guys will always love Friday. Right, Friday is the big bench day. Like I do all this stuff that some of them like, some of them not so much. But I always get to look forward to Friday because that's our big bench day. Right? I don't know what the science is behind that, but it's pretty effective. Okay. So now, what does our final plan look like? Okay. So this is, I believe this is week 3 of our winter plan. Okay. So the first thing that we'll do, all right, when we come into the weight room, all right, if we're doing, whether we're doing speed that day or whether we're doing change of direction or we're doing ply, whatever we're doing that day, we'll always start off with what I refer to as movement prep, okay? So I'm not a fan of just walking in the weight room from doing a warm-up or doing speed work, and then I jump on a platform and then, all right, back squat, here we go, load it up, okay? So we'll do some type of movement prep every day, all right? So a snatch complex is just a hang muscle snatch, all right, it's a behind the neck press, and it's an overhead squat. Just a barbell, no weight. Second set, if they want to throw a 10 on each side, for some of the big guys, second set, we've now worked up to where some of them will throw a 25 on each side, but I'll never go any heavier than that. All right, this is all just about mobility and movement. I want them to go through ranges of motion. All right, I want them to start bending. I want them to start squatting before we work into something heavy. All right, and a lateral band walk is just banding on the knees, right, and it's just a little bit of glute activation before we get into our Olympic day. All right, and that's that hang power snatch. 4x. So this is, I guess it would have been helpful if I'd have known who I stole this off of, which one of our players. But this is how the card looks. It's 4 by 99 pounds, 4 by 116 pounds, set of 3 by 124 pounds, 3 by 124 pounds. All right, power clean. All right, and for what it's worth, in case you're wondering, that blue box right there, that blue box means that last set of that exercise has to be checked off by a coach. All right, I or someone on my staff, I want to see that. I want to see what that set looks like. All right, 2 reasons. I want to make sure, at a minimum, I know that whatever your heavy set was for the day, you did it. I saw it. Okay? But then also, as important or even more important, I want to see what that set looks like, because at the end of every week, right? So I've talked about the fact that we stay in that 85, maybe even 90% range. Okay? So then I get asked a lot, well, when do you test? When do you test? How do you get to 100? As little as possible. Right? As little as possible. I like to test as little as possible. Right? I like to train. So we will move the working maxes for our players weekly. Weekly. I will sit down every Friday and we'll go through, when I see this set right here, all right, or when Coach Riley sees that set right there, all right, we'll mark down notes. How it looked, it was fast, depth wasn't very good, all right, it was too slow, whatever the case may be. So on Friday, right, if his clean max was 220, all right, well next week it might be 225 or it might be 230, all right, we'll move those maxes, all right. So I told you we're not going over 86%. We have guys in the program that their working max on clean has gone up about 50 pounds. All right, 50 pounds in 7 weeks, all right, which is not too bad. 7 weeks of training, clean max is at 50 pounds. We've not tested anything, all right? We just move them weekly based on how it looks, based on how the bar looks, right? Based on how fast that bar is moving, okay? Clean pulls, and then this is the back and bicep stuff at the end, right? Pull-ups, one-arm rows, planks, okay? Our Tuesday, which is our strength day, we're going to start off with 3x3s, which is just a behind-the-neck push press and then an overhead squat. Band tears, which I'm sure we're probably all familiar with, all right? Back squat incline, which is our 2 big movements for the day. And then we'll do a low posterior chain with some floor slider leg curls, some step ups, all right? Not in the count, all right? Not in the count is our single leg movements, all right? That's like its own country with its own laws and own policies, all right? We'll do single leg work twice a week, all right? And that is completely separate from the count. It's the only big exercise that is maybe potentially could be in the count, right, but is not, all right? And then all of our chest and tricep stuff at the end. Okay. Yes?
These are one after the other. You're not taking supersets. These are what, 1 minute rest in between, 2 minute rest between each set?
It's a great question. That's a great question. So if I wouldn't have cut it off, if I wouldn't have cut off my screenshot, over here on the left-hand side, you would see numbers, okay? So the way that this would look if it wasn't cut off is snatch is 1A, lateral band walk is 1B. All right, and when anything that has the same number but different letters, those are supersetted together. So this would be 1A, 1B. Hang power snatch, we do not superset with anything. All right, anything that we're going to try to move fast and explosively, the last thing I want to do is fatigue them in the middle of those fast and explosive sets. Okay, same thing with our big compound movements. So hang power snatch, we will not superset. Power clean, we will not. Clean pull, we will not. Everything else will get supersetted in some shape, form, or fashion. Right? Pull-ups, one-arm rows, planks, manual net, that will all get supersetted together. All right, so you may have 1A right here, 1B, 1A, 1 here, 1B. And then the same thing down here. Once we get into auxiliaries, all right, push-ups, band push-downs, lateral raises, All right, that's all the auxiliary stuff at the end. Once we get through our big compound movements, we'll all get superset, right? And that's basically just to try to maximize time, right? If we had 2 hours every day that we could just lift weights, maybe we wouldn't need to do that, right? But we're all limited by how much time that we have in the room, right? So that's what we try to make up for on time, is by supersetting everything at the bottom.
That's good. What's your rest period between your sets? Let's say for your power cleans, after you do a set of 3 at 125, how long do you want the player to rest?
Great question. There's 3 guys on a platform.
Okay.
I hit my set. Joe hits his set. Billy hits his set. I hit my set. Okay. So it should work out roughly in the 3 to 1 range, but we're not putting the clock on the guys. All right. The other thing that I don't do that I know is super popular, we don't go on the whistle. Right? We don't all hit every set all at the exact same time. Right? Reason being, in my experience, right? Now the room can only move as fast as the slowest platform. All right, so whatever your slowest platform is, not for the whole day, for each set. All right, so whatever your slowest platform is for the first set, that's as fast as your room can move. All right, whatever the slowest platform is for the second set, that's as fast as your room can move. Okay, now I get that. I understand the concept behind it. We go on the whistle and everyone's going at the same time, and everyone's getting their sets in. Okay, to me, that's a culture thing. Right, that is a culture thing with your players. Right? Am I going to sit here and say every single guy hits every single rep on their sheet? I think I'd be naive to say that. However, I feel pretty comfortable saying every single guy on our team hits 99.5% of the stuff on their sheet. All right? It may be a set of 8 where they hit a set of 6. Maybe that's just poor counting or whatnot. All right? But I want the room to move with pace. I want the room to move with tempo. Again, we're building football players. We're not building powerlifters. We're not building bodybuilders. When they get to the field, right, everybody moves fast now. Offenses move fast now, right? I need to be able to drive into someone, right, explode through with my hips, and then be ready to do it again in 30 seconds, okay? So we're going to move with tempo, and we're going to move with pace. So I don't have an exact number, but 3 guys on a platform, and we roll. Anybody else have a question? Yes, sir.
Are there any variances by position? Like, are the quarterbacks doing the same plan as the defensive tackles?
That's a great question. So, this is not within the PowerPoint. I think this is in. Okay, so I'll throw that up there while I answer some questions. Can I have some more guys? 7 minutes? Okay, it's a great question. So, with the quarterbacks, there are some things that they will not do that is completely separate from everyone else. On the top of my head, jerks with a barbell, they will not do. We'll do dumbbells. We'll do dumbbells instead. Once we get into spring ball, I limit them on the amount of weight that they're allowed to snatch. Right? They don't really probably work over 60% with their snatches, with their overhead stuff. And then with their bench press, we'll do a lot more dumbbells as well with those quarterbacks. Now, in the off season, one of the things that we will do is we will have our main core lifts. Right? We'll have a couple auxiliaries. And then the last 10 to 15 minutes each day, 2 days a week, becomes position specific. Okay? So the linemen, the O-line, the D-line will do probably more strength movements, right? They'll probably do more punching movements, med ball throws, things of that nature. Our quarterbacks will probably do more rotational stuff, more shoulder stability in that last 10 to 15 minutes. Okay? On the other 2 days a week, we go individual specific. So we have about 8 different buckets: hip mobility, shoulder mobility, core strength, lower body strength, upper body strength. We've got about 8 different buckets, right? And what individually can help Johnny the most, or Billy, or who, and we put them in one of those buckets. So 2 days a week they're doing something position specific. 2 days a week they're doing something individualized for them. Now, I say individualized, there'll be 12 to 15 guys that are all doing, the hip mobility work that day, whatever the case may be. We'll try to tailor it as much as possible to individuals. That's the best way that I've found to do it, to try to get 40 guys, all moving in the same direction. Great question. Yes, sir.
So just kind of trying to keep up with what the whole thing was about. Now, with the intent being to be able to build speed and overall explosion, are you going off of a 1 rep max or like a 3 rep max to see like if they're moving the weight like consistently at a fast rate or just?
It's a great question. It's a great question. So first I'll address 1 rep max versus 3 rep max. if you're going to rep, if you're going to max, if you are going to max, it's just my opinion, if you are going to max, 1 rep max.
Okay.
Put the weight on the bar, either they can do it or they can't. All right? If you do a rep max, all right, a rep max is so much more dangerous because, all right, I do 1 rep, okay? I do it pretty well. And then I do a 2nd rep. And that rep's okay. And then I do a 3rd rep. And that rep's a little shaky. But the room, 1 more! Yeah! Let's go 1 more! So I do 1 more. Sometimes that turns into another 1 more, right? And that's when I see, at least online, so that's when I see reps get really, really ugly. And kids get into really, really dangerous positions, right? Because they got a whole room of other guys, 1 more, 1 more, 1 more. You put yourself in some really bad positions. So if you are going to max, I would do a 1 rep max, not 3 rep max. Now, to answer your other question, right, so when I first got here, the first things we did was what I called a soft max. Okay? We'd spend a day going over technique. All right? I just wanted to make sure that guys knew how to bend, they knew how to squat. I didn't want to take anything for granted. I know they had squatted here before. I just wanted to see it with my own eyeballs. All right? Once I was comfortable, all right, that we were good to go ahead with it, we did a soft max. All right? So I worked guys up probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 80, 85%. Right? If you looked at the couple of videos that I showed, right? If you've been in the weight room long enough, you can watch someone squatting, 400 pounds, and you can see how the bar moves, and you go, 460. You know what I mean? And I've been doing it long enough now where I'm usually within 15, 20 pounds. If you've seen enough squats, you kind of know what they look like at certain speeds. So that's what we did. We did soft maxes on guys, right? Then, that first week, we trained. We sat down on Friday. We were like, oh, we were way off on this guy, right? Like he squatted we've got a defensive back, Savion Brown. I had him at 405 to start with. I watched him before. I'm like, all right, that looks pretty good. 405. Savion Brown's probably a 550 squatter. Right? He's a safety. He is different. Different. All right? I should have put the video of him up there. But week 1, saw him move, right? He went up 20 pounds. Coach, can I go a little more? Yeah, that looked amazing. We go more, all right? So his squat working max went from 405 week 1 to 445. All right. The next week it was 475 because I'm like, I'm going up to him. I'm like, I need to stop being a jerk and bump your max up, don't I? And so we bumped it up again, right? And again, I'd rather err to the side, especially coming into a new program and you're learning the guys learn that, err to the side of being a little bit lighter, right? And you can always just work that working max up later.
And then kind of doing like the plug and play thing like you were doing with the numbers before, like with the percentages going up. Okay. Yes,
yep. So if you look at this sheet of paper, okay, up here on this sheet of paper, so I've got one tab that has all the lift maxes.
Yes.
Has every kid's working maxes, off clean, off the bench, off the squat. Front squat max is 80% of my back squat max. Right? We don't do a front squat. 80%. My incline max is 80% of my bench press. Right?
Okay.
My jerk and snatch max is 75% of my clean max. Right? That's where I pull all my maxes from.
Yes,
and so at the top of this page, right, I do a little V lookup, right, for all the Excel nerds in here. All right, we do a little V lookup. So I pop their name in right here, and then here's a box with their clean max, and here's a box with their squat max, and here's a box with their bench max that pulls when their name is put in, pulls it from the other tab, and then all of these boxes, right, are percentages based upon what's in those boxes up there, right? All my Excel nerds are probably following me. Hopefully I'm not losing the room. All right, very good with that. That answer your question? Yep, that's how I do it. And so I sit down on Friday. It takes me about, we've got 90 kids on our team, and it takes me probably about 35, 40 minutes to go through and come through, check the maxes, check their sheets, check our notes, right? And we go through and we put it out for next week.
Coach, how often do you do the 1 rep maxes? How often do you do it?
Well, so we'll do it once in the summer. So in the spring, we'll have a day of what I refer to as heavy singles. We'll work up to a heavy single, right? So we'll work up to 86%, and then I'll cut them loose. You know what I mean? If they want to hit a bonus rep, they can hit a bonus rep. And if you've got competitive guys in your room and they get a chance to cut it loose, they cut it loose, right? And so we'll let them hit a bonus rep, and then from that 80s, because once they've hit that 86%, and that's the last set, that's got to get checked off. So I'm going to see it, and if they're going to hit another one, I'm going to see that one too. All right, so there's not going to be a rep that I basically didn't give a thumbs up to, right? And then on that 86% day, we probably had, out of 90 guys on the team, we probably had 70 PRs, You know?
Are you constantly moving up those weight loads every maybe couple weeks?
Talking about the working maxes?
Yes.
The working max.
You're going, for instance, for the power clean 3 at 125. You have.
Yep.
So, let's say week 3, would you bump up from 3 to 130 possibly? Or
So
you
yeah,
stay at that weight
so
level?
this is the actual number. That's not a percentage. That's the actual number. So up here was this kid's max, which I'm guessing is probably in the 200 range, 225 range maybe. So that's the actual, let's say if it's 187, so probably 245 is this kid's max. Okay, so that is probably 75-ish% maybe right there. So yes, we'll go. So week 1 we'll work 70 to 80% on that intensity day. Week 2 we'll work 75 to 85, and then week 3 we'll work 80 to 85.
But they're all based on 1 rep max.
All based off
All
the
percentages.
all based off their working max. Yes. So each kid is going to be doing whatever weight is based on their working max.
Okay.
So there's one kid does 225, another kid does 315. These numbers, what the actual number ends up being, is going to be vastly different.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
All right, fellas. Well, let's put our hands together. Really appreciate it.